F1 has witnessed the rise of a number of great drivers from time to time, and Charles Leclerc might be just one of the iconic drivers of our generation. His racing career has blossomed over the years, and his performance in Formula 1 is raising hopes in the hearts of fans. What are his roots? How did he end up in one of the most coveted seats in F1? And most especially, how has he proven to be champion material? Stay tuned as we check out the incredible journey of the Monegasque driver. Karting days. With the love of racing imbibed in Leclerc from his father, Hervé Leclerc, who raced in Formula 3 in the 80s and 90s, he started racing in karting from the young age of 8. And his winning spirit all started back in 2005 when he won the French PACA Championship. Not stopping there, he went on to win the same championship again in 2006 and 2008. On a spree, he became the French cadet champion in 2009. The following year, he moved up to the KF3 class and won the Junior Monaco Kart Cup. He stuck with the KF3 class for 2011, and that year turned out to be pretty successful for him. He won the Karting Academy Trophy, the World Cup, and the ERDF Junior Kart Masters. It seems like Leclerc was really born a champion. Moving on to 2012, Leclerc graduated to the KF2 category and joined the factory-backed Art Grand Prix team. He had a fantastic year, winning the WSK Euro Series title and finishing as the runner-up in both the European KF2 Championship and the Under-18 World Karting Championship. Leclerc's final year of karting came in 2013, and he didn't disappoint. He won the South Garda Winter Cup and finished 6th in the European KZ Championship. But perhaps his biggest achievement that year was finishing as the runner-up in the World KZ Championship, with none other than Max Verstappen taking the top spot. Formula Renault, Formula 3 and GP3 career. Without taking a breather, Charles Leclerc made the jump to single-seaters the following year, competing in the Formula Renault 2.0 Alps Championship for Fortec Motorsport, a British team. Throughout the season, he put in some seriously impressive performances, scoring 7 podium finishes, including a fantastic double victory at Monza. In the end, he narrowly missed out on winning the championship, finishing in second place behind Nick de Vries of Korean GP. But that's not all. Leclerc also competed in a few Eurocup Formula Renault 2.0 races that year, participating as a guest driver for Fortec. And even though he only competed in 6 races, he still managed to finish on the podium 3 times. He scored a second place finish at the Nürburgring, followed by 2 more second place finishes at the Hungaroring. After an impressive stint in Formula Renault 2.0, Charles Leclerc made the jump to Formula 3 in 2015. He joined Van Amersfoort Racing, a Dutch team, and things got off to a great start at the beginning round of the season in Silverstone. Thanks to a technical infringement by Felix Rosenqvist, Leclerc found himself in pole position for the second and third races of the weekend. He took full advantage of the opportunity, winning the third race and securing his first ever race victory in Formula 3. Antonio Giovinazzi and Jake Dennis rounded out the podium. Leclerc's success continued in the following round in Hockenheim, where he won the third race and picked up 2 additional podium finishes, as well as 3 rookie victories. And in the first race at Spa-Francorchamps, he scored his 3rd win of the season, putting him in the lead of the championship. Unfortunately, a collision with Lance Stroll at Zandvoort caused damage to Leclerc's car's chassis, and he ultimately finished 4th in the championship standings. But the season wasn't over yet. In November 2015, Leclerc finished in 2nd place at the Macau Grand Prix. Then, in February 2016, Nick de Vries announced that Leclerc would be racing in the 2016 GP3 season. Art wasted no time in signing the young driver, and he repaid their faith in him by winning 3 races and securing the title in his first year in the series. The season didn't end without a bit of drama, however. Leclerc crashed out in the feature race of the final round in Abu Dhabi. Formula 2 career. He then proceeded to Formula 2, joining the 2017 series. He made a strong start in Bahrain, taking pole position for the feature race but finishing in 3rd place. In the sprint race, he opted for a mid-race pit stop, an unusual strategy for the shorter race, but still managed to clinch victory by overtaking 13 cars and beating Luca Ghiotto on the final lap. The Monegasque driver continued his impressive form in the Catalunya feature race, winning for the 2nd time in a row after a hard-fought battle with Ghiotto. However, he suffered a setback at his home round in Monaco, where he retired from the lead due to a suspension problem and then collided with Norman Nato during the sprint race, resulting in both drivers retiring. Despite the disappointing weekend, Leclerc managed to maintain his championship lead. So after an emotional tribute to his late father, Charles Leclerc went on to take his 4th consecutive pole position at Azerbaijan. He drove with precision and secured yet another victory, although the race was cut short due to a red flag. In the sprint race, he had a bit of a rough start and dropped down to 10th place, but he didn't give up. Despite being given a 10-second penalty for not slowing down during yellow flags, he managed to climb back up to 2nd place after passing several drivers. Talk about dogginess. Moving on to Austria, Leclerc continued his impressive form and took his 5th pole position. He faced some tough competition from his teammate and the dams of Latifi during the feature race, but he held his ground and clinched another win. Unfortunately, he had to retire from the sprint race after a collision with FERRARI caused him to spin out. But Leclerc wasn't deterred and he came back strong at Silverstone. By taking his 6th consecutive pole position, he tied the record set by Stoffel van Dorn in the 2014-2015 GP2 series. In the feature race, he faced some unexpected challenges, including his car catching fire and losing one of his wing mirrors, but he still managed to cross the finish line first. It was another impressive performance from the young driver, and he was quickly becoming a force to be reckoned with in the Formula 2 series. Hungary didn't go as planned for Leclerc, as he was disqualified from starting in pole position due to a technical issue. However, he managed to impressively make his way up to 4th place from the back of the grid using an alternative tyre strategy. The following day in the sprint race, he finished 4th again, increasing his championship lead over Roland to 50 points. Now, moving on to the Belgian round, Leclerc continued his impressive form by taking pole position and winning the race by over 20 seconds. Unfortunately, his win was later disqualified as one of his skid blocks was found to be excessively worn. This meant he had to start the next race in 19th place, but he still managed to fight his way up to 5th place, finishing only 3.8 seconds behind the race winner, Sergio Seg Camara. Leclerc continued his impressive run in the FIA Formula 2 Championship, even after a disqualification in Hungary, a disqualified win in Belgium, and a crash in the Italian feature race. Leclerc clinched the FIA Formula 2 Championship in his debut season in the primary feeder series to Formula 1. Leclerc's impressive season in Formula 2 culminated in him becoming the youngest ever champion of the main support series for Formula 1 at the age of 19 years and 356 days old. He achieved the remarkable feat of winning the championship in his rookie season, becoming the first driver since Nico Hülkenberg back in 2009 to do so. This accomplishment has only been achieved by 2 other drivers, Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton. Leclerc's victory also marked the first time a driver's won a championship with a Dallara GP2 11 chassis in their rookie season. Formula 1 career. Though Leclerc was already a test driver for Ferrari and Haas F1 teams, he didn't join the sport until 2018. So, after becoming a Formula 2 champion, Leclerc joined the Sauber F1 team as a race driver for the Formula 1 World Championship, taking over for Pascal Wehrlein alongside Marcus Ericsson. And get this, it was the first time a driver from Monaco had been in Formula 1 since Olivier Beretta back in 1994. His rookie season's total points weren't so spectacular when compared with players from the top teams, but let's face it, at that point Sauber wasn't competitive at all. They were consistently at the back of the grid, and for the first time in a long time, they became one of the competitive midfielders. Leclerc accumulated a total of 39 points for the team that season, which was a huge comeback from what the team had in the previous 2 seasons. I mean, in 2016, the team finished with a total of 2 points, while in 2017, they finished with just 5 points. It was pretty clear that Leclerc had a successful rookie season. Ferrari era. His talent didn't go unnoticed, and he was immediately signed by Scuderia Ferrari for the very next season, replacing none other than 2007 world champion Kimi Räikkönen. Räikkönen then took Leclerc's place at Sauber, which was now known as Alfa Romeo. And check this out, when Leclerc's signing was first announced, it was only for the 2019 season. But just a few days later, Ferrari team principal, Maurizio Arrivabene, said that Leclerc's contract was actually going to be for 4 seasons. And here we are, in the 2023 season, and he still has a contract with them. Leclerc made his debut as an official Ferrari race driver in November 2018 during the end of season test. And then at the Australian Grand Prix, his first race for Ferrari, he started and finished in 5th place. But things really started to heat up at the Bahrain Grand Prix, where he qualified in pole position for the very first time in his F1 career. He was the fastest in 2 of the 3 practice sessions as well as in all 3 qualifying sessions, thus set a new track record and became the youngest ever Ferrari pole sitter. During the race, Leclerc was in the lead for most of the time, but unfortunately his engine dropped a cylinder due to a failed fuel injector, causing him to lose the lead and be overtaken by Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas. Thankfully, a late race safety car helped him hold on to 3rd place and secure the first podium finish of his Formula 1 career. Leclerc's early performances in the 2019 season saw him making waves as a talented and promising driver. While he finished 5th in his first race for Ferrari in Australia, he quickly made a name for himself by taking pole position in the 2nd race of the season in Bahrain, where he led for most of the race before engine trouble saw him drop down the order. He still managed to secure his first podium finish, coming in 3rd. In China, Leclerc qualified ahead of his teammate Vettel, but was controversially asked to yield his position during the race, ultimately finishing in 5th. Despite a crash in the qualifying session, he fought his way up from 8th to 5th in the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, also earning a plus point for setting the fastest lap of the race. Things took a turn for the worse in the Monaco Grand Prix, where Ferrari's poor strategy left Leclerc starting in 15th position. Although he fought hard to climb up the order, a collision with Nico Hülkenberg resulted in the 2nd retirement of the season. Leclerc bounced back in Canada, qualifying and finishing in 3rd place behind the dominant Mercedes duo of Hamilton and Bottas. He repeated this result in France before securing his 2nd pole position at the Austrian Grand Prix. However, a collision with Max Verstappen during the race saw him lose the lead and ultimately finish 2nd. Although the incident was investigated, the stewards deemed it to be a racing incident and took no further action. So at the British Grand Prix, Leclerc did really well in qualifying, landing himself in 3rd place ahead of Max Verstappen. During the actual race, he put up a great fight and managed to hold on to his position against Verstappen's attacks in the early stages, which earned him the title of Driver of the Day. This was actually the 4th race in a row where he made it onto the podium. Unfortunately, things didn't go as well for him at the German Grand Prix. Even though he had finished in the top 2 in all 3 practice sessions, an issue with the fuel system meant that he ended up qualifying in 10th place. Then, during the race, it was raining very heavily, but his team decided to put soft tyres on his car anyway, which turned out to be a bad move. He lost control and crashed into the barriers, causing him to retire for the 2nd time this season. But Leclerc bounced back at the Hungarian Grand Prix, despite having suffered a rear-end crash during qualifying. He still managed to complete the session and went on to end the race in 4th position. So at the Belgian Grand Prix, Leclerc managed to take his 3rd pole position of the season alongside his teammate Sebastian Vettel in 2nd place, which was the 2nd front row lockout for Ferrari that season. During the race, he held off Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes and scored his first ever Grand Prix win, which also made him the youngest ever Ferrari race winner. At the Italian Grand Prix, Leclerc managed to defend his position from both Mercedes drivers and won the race from pole position, becoming the first Ferrari driver to secure a win at Monza since 2010. He then went on to score his 3rd consecutive pole position in Singapore, but finished in 2nd place after teammate Vettel undercut him. Now, moving on to Russia, Leclerc took his 4th consecutive pole position and 6th of the season. Vettel passed him at the start of the race, but the team orchestrated an undercut in Leclerc's favour and he managed to retake the lead. Unfortunately, Vettel retired from the race due to a hybrid system failure, which allowed the Mercedes drivers to finish ahead of Leclerc in 3rd. In Japan, Leclerc qualified in 2nd place but suffered damage in a first lap collision with Max Verstappen, eventually finishing in 6th place, which was his worst result of the season. In Mexico, Leclerc managed to take his 7th pole position of the year after Verstappen received a grid penalty resulting from a yellow flag infringement. He then finished the race in 4th place. Following a 4th place finish in the United States, Leclerc's season ended with a controversial collision with teammate Vettel, which led to his 3rd retirement of the season in Brazil. However, he finished the season strongly with a 3rd place finish in Abu Dhabi. At the end of the 2019 season, Leclerc finished in 4th place in the championship with 264 points, which was ahead of his teammate Vettel. During his debut season with Ferrari, he achieved an impressive 10 podium finishes, 2 victories, and 4 fastest laps. In addition, he claimed 7 pole positions, which was more than any other driver that season, making him the first non-Mercedes driver to win the pole position award. Leclerc also made history by becoming the first driver from Monaco to win a Formula 1 World Championship Grand Prix. His 2020 season was a low, and he only reached the podium twice and just once in 2021. However, come 2022, he was back in the championship competition. Charles Leclerc really impressed everyone by taking pole position at the Bahrain Grand Prix and then going on to win the race, his first victory since 2019. He had a tough battle with Red Bull driver Max Verstappen, but managed to hold him off and claim the top spot. Even better, his teammate Carlos Sainz Jr. finished in second place, making a fantastic 1-2 for Ferrari. Leclerc's win also meant he took the lead in the Drivers' Championship, and Ferrari took the lead in the Constructors' Championship. It was the first time Leclerc had ever led the championship, and he even became the first monogas driver to do so. Unfortunately, things didn't go as smoothly in some of the following races. At the Spanish Grand Prix, Leclerc was leading with a huge gap until a power unit issue forced him to retire, giving Max Verstappen the win and the championship lead. He also had some bad luck in the Monaco Grand Prix and Azerbaijan Grand Prix, where a strategic error and power unit failure, respectively, forced him to retire. At the next two races, he failed to make it to the podium. But Leclerc bounced back at the Austrian Grand Prix, winning in dominant fashion and achieving his first Grand Slam in Formula 1, as well as Ferrari's first since 2010. Things were looking good for him at the French Grand Prix, where he took pole position. But unfortunately, he crashed out of the race on lap 18 due to a mistake. The Hungarian Grand Prix was a mixed bag for Leclerc. He qualified third behind his teammate, but finished sixth due to a strategic error by Ferrari. They put him on the hard compound tyres, which turned out to be a bad call. Max Verstappen eventually won the race and extended his lead in the championship over Leclerc by 80 points. At the Belgian Grand Prix, Leclerc had a bit of a rough start, with both him and Verstappen taking grid place penalties. But he managed to work his way through the grid and was looking good for a podium finish until he had to pit because of a tear-off in his brake ducts. He finished fifth but managed to get the fastest lap point by pitting for soft tyres. However, he got a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane and finished in 6th place. By the time of the Dutch Grand Prix, Leclerc had stopped counting the points deficit to Verstappen. He started second and finished third after losing his second place position to Mercedes' George Russell. But then, at Ferrari's home race in Italy, Leclerc took pole position. Unfortunately, Ferrari's decision to pit under a virtual safety car cost him the race lead to Red Bull's Max Verstappen. Leclerc finished second due to the race ending under a safety car. Finally, at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, Leclerc faced off against Sergio Perez for second place in the Drivers' Championship. They were tied at an even 290 points each going into the race. Despite starting in third place, one spot behind Perez, Leclerc overtook him and finished in second place, securing both second place in the Drivers' Championship and second place in the Constructors' Championship for Ferrari. Not a bad finish for the monogas driver. Leclerc is not ready to let go of his championship drive, and despite starting the 2023 season with a DNF, he still has the rest of the season to prove himself. But he'll have to fend off intense competition from the defending champion Max Verstappen, 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton, 2-time world champion Fernando Alonso, Red Bull's Sergio Perez, and of course his teammate Carlos Sainz Jr. So what are your thoughts on his fate this season? Let us know in the comments down below.